Want to lead a more intentional life but don't know where to start? I've got you covered. In this video, I am sharing my beginner's guide to living more intentionally, packed full of my best tips, the exact steps that I took to finally stop living life on autopilot. Get ready to get off that hamster wheel and end that Groundhog Day feeling once and for all. Hi, I'm Sarah Jew, Master Life Coach, founder of A Simple and Contented Life, and your mentor for making a change for the better. For the very best tips and advice on stepping out of a life on autopilot and into one of purpose so that you can become your best self and live your best life, be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure that those notifications are switched on so that you can keep up to date with all of my latest videos. In my last video, I shared what living purposefully means and the benefits of leading a more intentional life. But how do you do it? In this beginner's guide, I am sharing how to get started today. Watch the whole thing and then pick out one or two of the tips that resonate with you the most, and be sure to save this video so that you can come back to it later too. Before we start out to live life more intentionally, you need to know that there is no magic pill. There's no button that you can just push and your life magically becomes more intentional overnight. It takes work and it takes dedication. And like the name suggests, it has to be done intentionally. It all comes down to creating new habits, and that takes time and energy, but I promise you it's totally worth it. It's time and energy well and truly well spent. The good news is that it isn't hard or complicated. You can start off small and you can start today. All you need is to take action, to do something, anything to get started. And that's what this video is all about. I'm going to be sharing all of my best tips on how to get started and action that you can take today to start taking those very first steps towards living a life more intentionally. And so, with the tough love out of the way, let's take a look at the first thing you can do to start living more intentionally today. So the first thing you need to do when you're starting out on creating a life more intentional is to make intentional choices every day, is to make that conscious effort to make the decision of how you're going to spend your day and what you're going to do with your time. It's all about getting rid of any habits that no longer serve you so that you can create new ones, and ones that are actually going to help you live life more intentionally. So set aside a couple of minutes each morning to decide what intentional choices you are going to make that day. How are you going to spend your day? What are you going to do with your time? What things do you need to do that are going to help you take another step closer to accomplishing your goals? Remind yourself to do something positive every single day. It might be a small task, but it's a simple act that makes intentionally living feel effortless. And by taking the time to live more intentionally every single day, you'll start to see a lot of positive changes happening in a relatively short space of time. My favorite way to do this is to just grab myself a cup of coffee first thing, and I sit there with my journal and my to-do list, and I'll just think about the things that I want to do in the day, what needs to be done, what has to be done, what I want to do. And then I ask myself if each of those tasks are going to help me take another step closer to move the needle forward, and if they are in line with what I want to accomplish. And those few minutes, it only has to take the time it takes to drink your cup of coffee, but it makes all the difference in making sure that you are living life intentionally. And those intentional actions every single day soon add up, and you will be amazed by the positive changes you'll see. Okay, the second way that you can start to live more intentionally is to think before you act, because it's so easy to get stuck into a routine and stuck in a rut, doing the same things day in, day out, feeling like you're on that hamster wheel and that you're in that perpetual cycle of the Groundhog Day. But when we're being more intentional and we're thinking about the things we're doing before we actually do them, it gives us a chance to break those routines. So have you got something you want to be more intentional about? Try thinking about it before you act. Ask yourself, will doing this get me closer to my goal? Should I be even doing it in the first place? Does it align with my intentions? Is it the best use of my time and energy? And is it the best way to do it? Because if we're just used to doing it on autopilot, yes, it's something that we're doing, but is it something that is getting us closer to our goals? And is it time well spent? Are we actually doing it for the right reasons? Because if it doesn't align with our intentions and it's not the best use of our time and energy, then maybe it's something we should ditch from our life and replace it with something that is actually going to help us get closer to where we want to be. These questions make great journaling prompts too, as well. So anytime you're really thinking things through and you're asking yourself what you need to do next, answering these questions, sitting down with a notebook and pen and actually going through those questions and asking them one by one can really help you formulate and implement what your real intention should be. Okay, number 3 is learn more about what you want to be intentional about, because it's super easy to be intentional about something when we first start out, and it's really easy to do it. And that's because we are so excited and we're so pumped up about the moves we're making, knowing that it's going to help us make a change for the better. But after a while, that excitement fades, and so does the motivation and the drive that goes with it. So the best way to bring that excitement back is to immerse yourself in the topic and continue to learn about it. So whether that is reading books or listening to podcasts, watching TED Talks, you could even take a course or a class, whatever the area is that you want to be more intentional about, immersing yourself in that topic, reading up on the topic, and doing what you can to keep learning and stay excited about it. And all of the things that you want to be intentional about will help you to keep going. Because then when that excitement wanes, the next time you listen to a podcast again, you're going to be pumped more to keep going. The next time you read another chapter of your book, you're going to be pumped again to keep going. So the more you learn about what you want to be intentional about, the easier you'll find it is to actually make it happen. So comment below this video, what is prompting your desire to lead a more intentional life? And does living intentionally, what does that look like for you? Let me know in the comments. So the next step in my beginner's guide to living more intentionally is to stop and evaluate frequently. How often do you actually stop and look at what you are doing and if it is actually getting you any closer to where you want to be? Is what you're doing serving you? When was the last time you sat down and looked at all the actions you do and all of the things that you do every single day? Because another good strategy to help you live intentionally is to stop every few weeks and evaluate what you're doing and whether it's working for you. A great time to do this is at the end of every month before you dive into the next month, so that you can set your goals and intentions for the coming month. And then I also like to repeat this at the end of every quarter as well, so that you can break it down and look at what your goals should be for the next 3 months, and then work backwards from there to work out what the steps are that you need to take so that you can make sure that you are making intentional decisions and taking intentional action. So ask yourself whether those things are working for you. Are you seeing the results that you want to see? And is what you're doing aligned still with your intentions and your purpose? Because if it isn't, it's time to make some changes and create new habits until you find a routine that works for you. Do this regularly and you'll soon find your groove, and you'll find that you'll start to see changes happening much, much quicker, and you'll feel more confident and more motivated to keep going, because there's nothing worse than just doing that autopilot, sitting there doing the same thing every single day and getting 6 months down the line and thinking, this isn't working. If only I had looked at this sooner, I could have sorted it out. And so stopping and evaluating frequently can really break that cycle and help you to rein things in and realign so that you are doing things intentionally. Okay, my next tip for starting out and living intentionally is to start small to avoid overwhelm, because it's great to have big goals and it's amazing to feel ambitious and to want to change the world and do everything, but it doesn't have to happen overnight, and it doesn't have to all be done today. It can be tempting to want to do all the things and make all the changes, but that just can completely leave you feeling overwhelmed, and you'll be spinning in circles. You won't know where to start. You'll be doing a little bit here, a little bit there, and not really focusing in. You won't see the changes you want to make. You'll become frustrated, and that's what makes people give up much earlier than they needed to. And so by breaking things down and starting small really, really helps you to just hone in and focus on one thing, work on that area first, get the results that you want in that area, and then move on to the next thing. Know that you don't have to change everything at once. And also, not every little thing that you do has to be intentional or serve some bigger purpose. To get started, just focus on one small change. What is one small improvement that you can make? What one small thing can you do today that will help you be more intentional about the way that you live your life? Break those things down into baby steps. Look at your big goals, your big overriding goals, and ask yourself what those baby steps are. Break them down, and then suddenly everything seems so much more doable, and you won't be so daunted about diving in. And just know that by breaking them down and removing that overwhelm, you're far more likely to keep going and accomplish your goals. Finally, when it comes to starting out and living life more intentionally, give yourself some grace, because we are all human and we're all going to make mistakes from time to time. And sometimes it's not until we start diving in and try new things out that we'll actually figure out what works, what doesn't, whether it's something that resonates with us. And there will be days as well where we fall back into our old habits, times when we do that, something that is completely counterproductive to our intentions, times where we self-sabotage our days, and days when we can't get anything done at all, no matter how hard we try. And even now with me, I have so many days still where I do that, where I know what I need to do, I have my to-do list, but I completely ignore it and I go off and do something else. I totally self-sabotage what I'm doing, and then I think afterwards, why did I do that? And I beat myself up. But do you know what, it's okay to do that, because we are only human and it's all part of the journey, and it's inevitable. And beating ourselves up over failures and things that we've done that we haven't done quite as well, or we haven't achieved as much as we wanted to achieve, that's not going to help us. All that's going to do is make us feel like a failure and give up. Instead, be gracious with forgiving yourself. Give yourself permission to forgive yourself, because tomorrow is another day and we can always start all over again. So if you have days where you don't make as much progress as you would like, or you didn't live as intentionally as you had hoped you were going to, that's okay. It really is okay, because you can just start again tomorrow. And you can also hit the reset button anytime you like. So for any time you feel like the day isn't going great, you can just go, right, stop. I'm going to start again. I'm going to hit that reset button and I'm going to keep going. Vow to do better and move on. Whatever you do, do not use those mistakes as an excuse to get lazy and never accomplish anything. Know that done is better than perfect, and aim for progress over perfection. Realize that you're not perfect, none of us are, and it's okay to fail sometimes, because it's how we learn and how we grow. And if we learn from those mistakes, if we pick ourselves back up and we keep going, it becomes easier and easier to live a life of more intention. Finally, I want you to remind yourself that being more intentional and living life to its fullest is a journey. And we all have our own definition of what living intentionally means to us. And it's going to be totally different to the next person. And like I said, there is no magic pill. It takes time, it takes work, it takes dedication and commitment. And it's something that you build up to over time. It's something that will naturally change and evolve as you do. Just like you take a journey of 1,000 miles, one step at a time, you need to take living intentionally one action at a time, one intention at a time, one day at a time. Make those small changes, set time aside at the beginning of each morning to think about what everything is that you want to achieve and whether that's an intentional step for you or not. Make those small changes, keep working on them, keep adding to them, and keep doing those and keep living with more purpose and intent, and you will get there, and you'll be living a life of intention completely naturally without even having to think about it. So here are the quick steps again. Make intentional choices every day. Think before you act. Learn more about what you want to be intentional about. Immerse yourself in those podcasts, those videos, the TED Talks, reading books, everything that you need to do to learn more and immerse yourself in the topic to motivate you to keep going. Then stop and evaluate frequently. Check in with yourself regularly and see if what you're doing is still in alignment with what you want to accomplish. Start small to avoid overwhelm. Pick something small that you can do today to help you take that first step. And then when you see that action happening, it will motivate you to keep going. And then finally, give yourself grace. Remember that we are human. It takes time. It is a journey. But if you make those intentional choices every single day and keep taking action, you will get there. So comment below this video. What was your favorite tip for living more intentionally, and which are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more tips on how to get started with living a more intentional life, check out the related post, including how surrounding yourself with like-minded people can make it easier to achieve your goals, what to do when you're having days where you're struggling to get motivated, and much more. You'll find the link to the post below. And now you know how to get started with living more intentionally. Don't just stop there. Don't just watch this video and think, yeah, they're great tips, and then do nothing about it. Pick one of them and do it today. Do it now, and then let me know in the comments which one it is you are going to do. And if this video has inspired you to take action, to step out of a life on autopilot and into one on purpose so that you can lead a more intentional life, I have put together a quick start guide to help you uplevel your life right away. And it is easier than you might think. You'll find the link for that too below the video. And lastly, if you'd like support from other women who are just like you, working to lead a more intentional life so that they can become their best self and live their best life, come and join the A Simple and Contented Life Facebook group. The link's below, and it is full of just over 600 amazing other women who are all striving just like you to create a life they love. Here's to living a more intentional life, and I will see you next time.